Okay, so you want to maximize your gains, right? Well, you need to maximize your nutrition,
Ugh, you don't understand.
right? You need to really prioritize and care about your nutrition because it's literally super, super important for maximizing your gains. So let's get right into it. Here's, physique photos in case you're curious what I look like. But let's just start off with number one, protein.
Fuck your protein powder.
Protein is, of course, the most important macronutrient. So definitely prioritize your protein. What is protein? So protein is utilized to pretty much build your muscle fibers. And that's through a process here called muscle protein synthesis. So think of it like this. When you work out, your muscles are like, oh my gosh, that was really hard. We need to get bigger and stronger so we can adapt to this really difficult weight. So what your body does is it utilizes protein to build more muscle fibers so you can get bigger and stronger. Right? The thing is, obviously your body won't do that if you're not getting enough protein. So that's why protein is the most important when it comes to muscle building. On average, protein will have 4 calories per gram, so 1 gram of protein will be 4 calories. Of course, that's not 100% perfect, but it's just a general rule of thumb if you're, tracking or counting or estimating your protein intake and the calories. Next, how much protein should you actually be eating? Well, studies have shown anywhere between 0.7 and 1.2 grams per pound of body weight are effective. Now, of course, it may vary person to person. One person may work really well with 0.8, one person may need 1.2, right? It really just depends on the person, but I think anywhere within this range of protein will help a lot. So, for example, if you weigh, let's say, 180 pounds and you want to eat 1 gram of protein per body weight, you would eat 180 grams of protein. Now, one thing, though, that I do want to talk about and emphasize is you want to try and stay within this range, because what happens is if you go under this range, right, if you go below this 0.7, usually that won't really be enough protein for your body to actually do, this muscle protein synthesis here. Now, on the other hand, if you go too high above the 1.2, usually what might happen is you're just over consuming the protein to the point where it's not really adding any extra benefit. Again, just try and stay within this range, or just, I guess, find whatever works for you. Now, let's talk about some sources. Of course, we have chicken, turkey, beef, eggs, yogurt, fish, and whey protein. These are just general sources. You can get it from whatever you want, but I think these are all good options because they're all healthy, they're all decently affordable, and they all have a lot of protein, right? Just things like this. And again, here's a key takeaway, but the key takeaway I want to say is just really prioritize the protein, eat within this range, and you're good. So let's move on to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, my personal favorite, but let's explain what these do. So carbohydrates are pretty much your body's immediate source of energy. So when you go and work out, when you go and do literally anything, your body's like, okay, let's use the carbohydrates as energy. So these carbs are extremely important. People really kind of overlook carbs and ignore them, but they are extremely important for muscle building. Why? Because when you have a lot of carbs in your system, it boosts your performance in the gym, right? You can train significantly better in the gym with more carbs, which will result in more muscle growth. So definitely prioritize your carbs too. And similar to protein, 4 calories per gram, right? Some good sources here, rice, potatoes, oats, fruits, pasta, bread, honey, maple syrup, those things, right? Those all have carbs. Those are all definitely things you want to eat, right? Don't be afraid of carbs. They don't make you fat. They don't do any of that stuff that, people fearmonger. They don't do any of that, so don't be terrified, right? Get your carbs. Again, these are all good sources, healthy sources, decently affordable. And how it works with carbs is you can kind of just eat them whenever you want throughout the day, but I highly, highly recommend that you eat it pre-workout and post-workout. Really prioritize pre-workout and post-workout carbs. So again, key takeaway, carbs fuel your workout. They allow you to perform your absolute best in the gym, so definitely eat those. Super, super good. Next, and finally, we have fats. So one thing I want to say with fats, I just want to get this straight. Fats are not bad for you. They're not unhealthy if you're getting them from a good source, right? Based on the name, a lot of people like to demonize fats and say you shouldn't eat them at all because they're super bad. Yellow tape around his... That's not entirely true, again, if you're healthy and you're getting them from good sources. So let me just get that out of the way. Next, let's actually talk about what they do. First, hormone production. This one's really important. If you're eating a low-fat diet, what can happen is your hormones start to fluctuate and get a little weird. So, for example, your testosterone might drop a lot, right? Other hormones in your body might drop a lot, which isn't really good for overall health and performance in the gym. So, you do not want that. Next, absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K. So these vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are found in many foods and are also really beneficial for you, you can only absorb them if they're consumed with fats, right? So if you're not consuming fats and you're eating foods with these vitamins, they're just not really going to be used, which is, of course, not a good thing. So you want to eat your fats. Next, cell health and energy. Your fats kind of just contribute to your health and your energy. Not very much we can say here. Now, for the calories, fats are the highest. They have 9 calories per gram, which is normally why you'll see when you're having like a gym performance-based diet, you'll normally notice that the fats are the lowest of the 3, right? You'll usually notice that protein is middle, carbs are the highest, and fats are the lowest, usually because these have way more calories. Now, when it comes to good sources, right, we have avocados, nuts, olive oil, salmon, peanut butter, some animal foods, some cheese, milk. Those are all really good sources, right? Bad sources, which is why people call fats bad. Bad sources would be things like seed oils or, processed oils and all this nonsense. So don't eat those, okay? And the takeaway I want for this is fats are really important. They're just as important as carbs and protein, right? So don't think low fat is better. Don't think low fat is the way to go. So that's pretty much all we got for this video. Again, if I can leave off on one note here, prioritize your protein, prioritize your carbs, and prioritize your fats. They're all super important and they all contribute and work together to allow the best performance in the gym and allow the best growth for your muscles and maximizing your growth. Let's go. Get freaking yoked, boys.